This is Cadillac Unscripted on 107.9 CDY. It is sponsored by Independent Bank, and it's another Saturday morning of local chat here. And Katie Huckle, my co-host. And Katie, I can't think of anything more important than keeping our students, our high school students, local after they get their education. Very important. We want to keep our talent local. But, you know, another box that's getting checked in this that we're talking about is employers having talent and employers having enough employees. And so welcome to the studio, Beth Miller and Niki Schultz. And we can't wait to hear what these, by the way, movers and shakers with us. Well, as of the taping of this particular show, we are, this is the afternoon that Beth was one of the ladies who was honored at the Celebrate Women for Oasis Family Resource Center. Mm-hmm. And that was the night after the chamber dinner, which was huge. So I'm hopeful that Beth will go home and sleep after we're done.
I know it. Do you have any Red Bull here in the studio?
I don't have any Red Bull.
Yeah,
we've got Beth from the Chamber of Commerce and from the Alliance for Economic Success, Niki Schultz, here to talk about a new way that we can keep our talent local. So good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So tell us what's going on.
Yeah. Go ahead.
They're looking at each other. Who's going to start?
Yeah.
So one of our pillars for the Chamber of Commerce is our talent pipeline and our workforce, right? We kind of keep going through all of this, that we've had a shortage of workforce post-COVID. Mm-hmm. So after spending a lot of time with our employers and stuff, obviously, they need employees. But the biggest gap is that our students are graduating and going elsewhere. So Michigan has one of the highest outmigration rates. And so we have so many opportunities here locally that I think our students aren't necessarily getting their hands on. And our Career Tech Center does a phenomenal job with their students, Rich Spicer.
Leanne Bush.
Yes. Of connecting their students to get employment here. But there's a gap elsewhere with, our regular and regionally. So we were trying to kind of come up with ideas on how do we connect that dots between our students and our employers and kind of bridge that gap and make that connection stronger. So Chamber works closely with Alliance for Economic Success and Niki Schultz. And so we were having a conversation one day. I was like, this is what we need to focus on. And I need to bridge this gap, but I'm not an educator. I don't know what I don't know. Mm-hmm. And Niki's like, I have an excellent idea.
Yeah, so back in the fall, I learned about a platform called Emergeskill, and it is exactly what Beth was talking about. It's a platform and a way for employers to connect with students for entry-level positions. So, and it starts when they're about 16, 17, so juniors, seniors, and it's a way to get them to find employment in our community. There's a lot more that goes into the platform, but it was exactly what Beth was talking about. And I was like, oh my God, like I have it. So it was a super great partnership and connection together.
So it kind of is a dating app, as you will, but it connects it with your local employers. But with that, we kind of have like this 3-phase plan that we're working on. We want to launch the Emergeskill. We had to get our superintendents and all of our schools on board that, they would work to help get the students signed up. But before that, we're currently working on getting word out to our employers because we need them to be able to go on and create the profile, those with entry-level jobs. So we want to launch Emergeskill, and then in February of every year, MSU Extension puts on the Mock It Rocket, which we're both on the committee for that. And we would love more awareness from some of the schools that it's well attended. But there's a little bit more, I think, that can be done and expanded on it. And the students get to go and review their resumes and do job interviews with local employers, not their mock ones, but they get that experience. So they call it the Mock It Rocket, but there has never been the experience to actually rock it right away. Mm-hmm. And so phase 3 is to bring back a regional job fair that we're kind of calling, I think now at this time, Career and Commerce, because the Chamber of Commerce used to also put on a business expo, which the employers like. So if we can kind of merge the two together and allow for interviews at the job fair, as you will, so that we can kind of line people up for summer help, and hopefully, because that college, that like 16 to 22 is that big gap that we need to get in front of to say, hey, you've got local employment here. You don't need to go away to all of these different places to find opportunities. Do
you have a varying level of commitment depending on the employers that you talk to? Because just before we got on the air, we talked about this. As someone who is in the classroom with students every day, there are students I would send out because I know they would create a great impression. And then there are students that I know if I did and I had my name attached to them, it's probably going to not turn out very well. And then you're concerned about an employer saying, no, I don't want to do that anymore. So what kind of commitment are you getting from employers on this?
We probably both have different stories and stuff, but I'd say it's varying, but it's varying because the workforce has had such a shortage. So they're kind of just at their like high frustration levels. Like they've had employer after employer, they're hiring 30 people or interviewing 30 people, hire 10, 5 show up and 1 makes it through. So their patience for putting in efforts like this is also very thin. So I think there's still hope in the back of their minds that we can fix this, but we have to do something to try. So I'd say it's mixed.
Yeah. So any of the employers, we've done a couple of informative sessions to talk to the employers about the Emerge platform. And the feedback that we've gotten about it and from it has been really great. Like they are all on board. Like anything that they can do, and it's going to be work for them. I mean, they're going to have to create their profile. They're going to have to follow up because we know a lot of our teenagers, a lot of those entry levels aren't necessarily the most motivated. Some of them are. We know some of them are, but it gives the employer then an opportunity to reach out to the student and or have the student reach out to the employer. So it's back and forth. It is safe. There are all of the safety measures are in place with the platform. They can't contact them in an unsafe manner, but it really gives the employer an opportunity to reach out to the student first.
And the platform is, the platform is free. It's actually covered and paid for by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. There's different levels later, like you could if you wanted to increase some of the efforts on there, but in an effort to fix our workforce gap. So.
And I know this is really key because I know a lot of the HR managers who do hiring from factory to factory. They have you have people going from one factory to the other. This is the new workforce. This is the 17, 18, 19-year-olds who are just getting. So these are the kids who hopefully have the commitment to work and to do well and the dedication to do well, and that's the beginning of a lifetime of earning.
Right. And as an employer, you're not paying a temp service. Use that word, fill the gap. You're not paying a temp service to onboard somebody. This seems like a time and a money saver. And when I say money saver, I mean for the employer, but also I see so many people with crippling student loan debt. And it breaks my heart because they are not in a field even related to what their degrees in. And there's nothing wrong with that. But a lot of student loan debt, when you graduate from college and you're trying to make it and you're trying to find a job and all of a sudden you come out of deferment, it's like ice water over your head. And so, let's remove this stigma about college and let's start talking about what do you want to do with your days, fine-tuning that, and then finding an employer that, oh, good, this person, I can let them know with eyes wide open what their job function will look like. This is huge,
and
ladies.
So it's really great because, these are entry-level jobs, but like you said, there's in so many, especially in our manufacturing and a lot of our other industries, there's so much room for growth within them with partnering with Michigan Works, Networks Northwest to do apprenticeship programs. You don't necessarily have to, the employers can get help with that training funding so that they can move the entry level up into higher positions. So there's a lot of room for growth there too.
Would you say that this is probably the most friendly time in the history of employment when it comes to training, retraining, having dollars available to improve yourself at work? Would you say? I mean, there seems to be a lot of help out there.
Yes, especially with I'm drawing a blank for it. Going Pro Talent Fund through Michigan and Networks Northwest. I mean, they have poured in thousands and thousands of dollars available for different programming and wanting to develop and
So when do you, no pressure, and we won't hold you to it, but in a perfect world, you'd launch when, Nikki?
So we are hoping to get the employers on board, because we can't get students to sign on if there's not employers to sign on.
Okay.
Then the trick is to get employers to sign on. They're like, oh, how many students have you enrolled? And we're like, well, and so that really hasn't been such a hindrance. The platform is undergoing kind of a transformation. So I think it's at the 1.0 right now, and in the fall, it's going to be at a 2.0.
Okay.
So there's going to be a whole lot of other features to the platform, which, I mean, Beth can talk a little bit more about. So the platform is this, in the essence, is this like dating site, if you will, but there's a lot more to it as well.
And you go on and you create the profile. The profile will follow the student through college, so they can continue to go on and edit and put in their interests, and then it job matches you. And the interesting thing, right? You know, Rich, you're familiar with this with job matching. So let's say somebody's interested in AI, right? They're not realizing that that's a career here at like Buer Sawmill, because they think it's just logging and cutting logs, but then you have all of the information and all of the IT that goes behind it to figure out all the algorithms. And I'm probably using all the wrong language because this is not my forte. But you know, they're not thinking about all these different places that seem like they're one job but actually are multifaceted. So those profiles can carry you through, but they also offer they're going to have a couple mobile trailers. One will be based out of, I think it was Traverse City.
Yep.
And they have like over 60 different virtual platforms that you can, like, with virtual reality headsets. So if you want a little bit of hands-on experience, you know, being a fireman or whatever it might be, they have all these courses that you can try out and actually step into the field with just the virtual headset.
It's like a flight simulator.
It is super cool.
Yes.
So they came last month and brought one of the virtual reality headsets. And I pretended, or, you know, like I was doing an ER nurse role, which is not for me. I panicked because like it's so real, and like I'm pretty sure my patient died right on the table in front of me.
Oh boy!
Yeah, it was definitely not for me. But now I know that ER nurse is not for me.
But half the fun of career exploration is finding out what you don't want to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I giggle because my mother was so sure she wanted to be a nurse, and then she started fainting at the sight of blood. It's like, well, that's a wrap. You know, that's not going to fly.
No.
But think about how much money employers spend recruiting.
Yeah.
You know, and to be able to shortcut that. Mm-hmm. And this person absolutely won't do this. Well, then it's not a fit.
Right.
You know,
and it's not just recruiting, but it's onboarding. There's a lot. There's a lot of time and expense that is involved in getting someone on the payroll, and then 2 weeks later they find out they don't like the job and they're gone. That eliminates a lot of this.
Yeah, it can for sure. Yeah.
And Michigan Career Quest does a phenomenal job at putting on, or it's Networks Northwest.
It's Networks Northwest
that puts on the Michigan Career Quest, but they do it for 9th graders, and it's all over all of the. I think they had over 30 schools. My numbers might be a little off, but they host that every year in Traverse City, and we went and witnessed that, and all of the 9th grade schools from all over go. But one of the barriers they had stated at that, it's phenomenal to get the hands-on experience, but the businesses that are going wish that there was an opportunity, you know, for hiring the students.
And 9th grade is too young.
And 9th grade is too young, but you need to start that career exploration then. So we're hoping by bringing back and doing a regional job fair, that anybody that has a booth will have, something to do, kind of a career exploration piece, so that those that are at that junior, senior, and still haven't figured out what they want to do, or maybe didn't go to the career fair or forgot, can kind of maybe be re-inspired and re-triggered down another path.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the percent. I'd love to know what the numbers are, but the percentages, I think, of 11th and 12th graders that are in career and technical education who actually go into the field that they are trained in career and technical education is probably lower than we want it to be. But there are those who are very committed when they come to the CTC in 11th grade. This is what I'm going to do. And it often happens. It comes. One of my favorite stories. Sabrina Wagner was a CTC student, and she graduated in 2015. She was from Manton. She came in her first day in 11th grade, and she said, I'm going to be a tattoo artist. Guess what she is?
Really?
Yes.
Isn't that something?
She is a marvelous tattoo artist in Traverse City, and I don't have any, but I've already told her I'm going to get a microphone on my arm one day.
Oh, I want to be there
and you're
for
going
that.
to do it.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And then you can say, this student, she had the courage of her conviction. She followed through. And when you say a career like that, it's time for us. Obviously, these two have already done it, but it's time for, let's say, you're 50 and older, to start changing the way we look at careers and employment, my friend.
Yes.
And we need to tell, our parents that it isn't the way it used to be. It isn't success is defined by a college education.
It is not defined by a college. We don't discourage college at CTE.
Oh, gosh, no.
But there are certain careers that, whether it's Dave Mackey in power sports, or, Brad Sikkema in automotive, or us in digital media production, there are jobs available. And you were talking earlier, Beth, about, at job fairs and things like that, Buer Sawmill, there are companies who are looking for other types of things that, when we have the employer expo at the CTC, we always tell our kids, you just never know what company might be looking for a videographer. Mm-hmm. They might be looking for someone who wants to, have stories told, video stories told, and pushed out on their socials. So those companies aren't just what is on the surface.
And I will say, especially, and maybe I'm biased because my husband is in manufacturing, but if you have a student who's graduated and they say they're going into manufacturing, Katie, to your point, people are like, oh, but there's so much more, and we need general production laborers. There's absolutely nothing. We need those too, but there's more than just a general production laborer. Mm-hmm. There are, you can be a controller, you can be, in marketing, you can do all of those things that are part of manufacturing that are completely in someone else's wheelhouse. I don't want to do marketing, I don't want to do sales, but we need those, know.
But the lack of awareness of what we have here. So running the Cadillac leadership and the adult leadership class, you've got age 24 to 60 that are going through this 9-month program. Some of them have lived here their whole lives, and they're going out for our manufacturing day, and they're like, I had no idea that we were the supplier of all of the military masks, or we're making, high field boats, all of these pieces and these high tech that continue to innovate is here. And so I'm like, if our adults that are active in our community don't even know,
how would a 17-year-old know?
Right. So, I don't know. We don't have all the answers yet, but we really want to, we can bridge that gap.
We really want to engage our students deeper into the community and with what is available for them.
Yeah. Well, and remember high school when you were like, well, I'm going to leave and I'm going to go.
Yes, absolutely.
And see ya, and then how many times okay, I miss home. All that kind of stuff. So many folks end up coming back, and I think it's important also to tell our young folks, it's okay to change lanes. I did some mentoring with a girl who went to Michigan State, and she was spending every weekend coming home to see her mom and dad. And she said, I'm wasting my money. I'm wasting their money. Am I a failure if I drop out and do something different? And I said, no. And the banker in me is telling you you're going to save thousands of dollars,
Right.
you're miserable. So you're not a failure because you decided this wasn't for you. And this is a proven girl with excellent grades and things like that. She wasn't looking for an excuse. She had a mind frame of what success looked like. And it was important for her to talk to other support people in her life to say, you've got permission to do this, and hold your head high with it.
So I'm going to give you a little bit of a brief personal background just because for me. So I actually, this is shocking, but no, I did not finish college, not because I didn't want to or because I dropped out. I just was in this middle bucket where I wasn't emancipated. My parents didn't have the information to do the financial aid. You couldn't get loans until you applied and were denied financial aid. And so I paid out of pocket and worked 3 jobs for the 2 years that I went to college until I ended up being promoted and then was making more money of all of those around me that was graduating at that time. And now fast forward, I'm 38, and a lot of my friends who are not doing anything that they went to school for, their loans are all due and they're crippling because of the economy.
Yes.
And so at least I can say, even though single broke girl anyway, I don't have debt.
Right.
And but yeah, I've worked my butt off since I was 16. So I think there's something to be said that because the amount of slack and guilt over all of the decades of, oh, well, you don't have this
Not going to
bachelor's degree
college,
and you don't have that. And like looking down, and all I've done is, I've learned all of the skills. And when I went to school, I was still a dean's list and all of that, but I was
It
dealt
didn't
a
make
different
sense,
hand
yeah.
at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And take a look at you now.
Right?
And
So-
everyone's journey is different, and you
Yes.
cannot compare yourself.
No.
Yeah.
That's right.
So
Yeah, right. And we see so much comparing now with social media. I mean,
Oh gosh.
and we got to let that all go too.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
I want to talk about who brought the idea to who and how you two partnered in this.
So Niki came from Great Start Collaborative, who shared an office with us, and so I don't know.
So I don't know. Like
We've had kind of a
They're
strong
looking each other in the eyes.
I know. We golfed 100 holes together last year, so
We did.
we did. We got
yes.
um
Some of those bigger issues. I mean, housing and childcare and
Right.
talent pipeline. I mean, we're always throwing ideas around the office.
we were
and
literally
having the
just sitting
conversations.
at the table at the chamber, and she's like, I really wanted, this is what we need. And I was like, this is the platform I learned about. And I had been just really sitting on the information because I didn't know where to go with it. Being new in my role, I didn't know all of the pieces. And so I was kind of just sitting on it, waiting for, I guess, Beth to say, hey, I need to do this. And it was just...
Niki, and I want to throw something in at this too. So you have Beth with the college situation that happened, the life story there. But then we have you who owned a toy store, an advocate for children.
Yep.
Think about how many years you were with childhood development. How many years there?
So I was with Great Start Collaborative for 12 years. I taught preschool 5 years before that. And so my background is early childhood.
Right. So I see you bringing kids in and Beth bringing business in. And of course, now you represent the business community.
Right.
And all of a sudden, it's like spontaneous combustion.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and that's, I don't have a degree in economic development. So when people are like, so what are you doing? I'm like, oh, economic development. And they have and I had no background. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, but it's a role of a lifetime for me, and I'm just loving
and everything
it.
that you've done has just led the building
to
blocks
here. Yep.
to
Right.
be that.
Yeah.
This is going to be a huge catalyst for change, I think, for this community.
We hope.
Yeah, that's our desire.
So what are we talking about as far as the geographical area of this? Is this the Wexford-Missaukee ISD? It's within the ISD.
Yes.
So you've talked with all the the superintendents within the ISD to
Yep.
try to get them on board.
Yep. So Dave Cox was our first stop.
Of course he was, and I bet
obviously.
you he said yes.
He was absolutely. I think he got us into the superintendent meeting the next day. We were actually not prepared for that. But he's a mover and shaker, so he's like, come to this meeting, talk to the superintendents, and all of the superintendents were there, and they're like, yep, absolutely. Like, how can we help? they want to do this. And I do have to give a shout out to Dana. I don't know what's
Van Heisman from Lake City.
Van
Heisen, yep.
Yes.
So we met with her. She requested a meeting with
Amazing.
us, and she's doing amazing things at Lake City schools. I don't know what her title is. I apologize for that, but she's with high school students, I think seniors, and any kind of career experience that they want, she puts it together for them. She have a pilot, like one of them wanted to do aviation, and so she sends them to get this experience firsthand to see if that's really what they wanted to do. So she is building a culture in Lake City that is
every high school should have that person.
Yes.
A
Every
champion.
high school needs
Oh my
a Dana.
God.
Yes.
Yeah, someone who's reaching out in 9th and 10th grade and pointing them in the right direction and making contact with industry, or talking to the people at the Career Tech Center if that dovetails with that interest. Every school. I'm going to tell you, superintendents, if you don't have that in your budget, make it.
Yeah.
Find it.
Yeah. So superintendents, and then we are also trying to connect with other of like our small chambers. So we're collaborating right now, the Cadillac Chamber with the Misaki Chamber, and then branching out, talk to Marion and Matin, just to try and get them on board to also help engage their businesses and their employers. The more hands that we can get on this, many hands make light work.
Yes,
They say that.
that
Good
is
quote.
it.
Yeah.
And
didn't even
high
jack
school
it up that
counselors too on board.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you have a month or an anticipated date in mind for this gigantic gathering of students and employers?
So we're aiming for March of 25.
Okay.
Currently.
Okay.
Yes, because it puts it right in hiring season for the summer.
Okay.
And then it immediately follows the Mock It Rocket event. So the interviewing and the resumes would be fresh and built.
I think that's a great idea.
So that's our current agenda.
Okay. Any idea where you'd have it?
Well,
The
the
Lex.
Lex.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Because it's going to be that big.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
you need a lot of room for
Yes.
that, for sure.
Yes.
What can the community do to support this?
Awareness. When we launch, we need help sharing and awareness to get the businesses on board. I think the students will come and will help with all of those facets, but and then creating our local partnerships. I mean, we're going to pull in Michigan Works and Jobs for Michigan Graduates and CTC, to help be a catalyst.
And I will tell you, this is my message to employers, my personal message to employers. If you think that this generation does not want to work and does not have a work ethic, you are wrong. There are a lot of kids out there who want to find meaningful work and want to make a living for themselves.
I agree. And how many open houses have you been to where the graduate, for the 47th time, people are like, so what are your plans? And it's like a deer in headlights. It's like, not sure what the W-2 is going to look like, folks. It's scary. It's overwhelming because they know the life that they grew up with. It's like, how am I going to get here in this world? So much has changed. And as parents, you're kind of like, good luck, And so I look at you two right now and what you're doing, and I'm thinking, there's hope.
Yeah.
And I like what you said, though. You said, like, what are your plans after high school? Because I feel like a couple years ago, it was like, oh, what college are you going to? Like, that was the question. And we are slowly shifting to where it's, what are your plans after high school? Like, what are your plans? And I don't think that's not as intimidating to some students, I think, as, like, if you're not going to college, then you're kind of like, oh, well, I'm, choosing to enter the workforce. And then there is that stigma. And so we are shifting into that.
Boy, am I glad to hear that, because I know of folks that, especially if everyone else in the family has a degree, then they're like, and there's no reason, to feel bad about that. You can still have a meaningful life. Look at Beth. You can still have a meaningful life and a meaningful career without that college education and the debt that comes along with it. And so, we need to do a better job of getting the word out there. And Rich, thank you so much for saying that about our young people.
I mean, I work with we had 52 in DMP this year, and of those 52, I would gladly put my name and stake my reputation on half of them at least.
Awesome.
Wow.
And my kid's one of them, so.
He
Just
definitely
throw it, I'm just saying.
He
I bet
definitely
he's
is.
perfect. He's a perfect child.
Yes, thank
So,
you, Katie.
Ladies, do me a favor. When 5 or 6 months down the line, when you have a date picked out for this, come back and let's talk about it again.
Yes.
All
We
right.
want to hear the
Absolutely.
success.
Thank
Yes,
you.
yes, absolutely.
100%. Thank you for having us.
Niki Schultz and Beth Miller with us this morning. A couple of movers and shakers. And Katie, thank you. And next week, more local chat here. I think we're going to be talking about the Cadillac Freedom Festival next weekend.
Oh
I
boy,
think.
everybody loves the 4th of July.
Speaking of a mover and shaker, I think we're going to have Kate King with us next weekend.
Oh my! Now there's somebody that gets
Yes.
it done.
Yes.
A special congratulations to you, Beth. You've had a big
Yes.
week.
Thank you so much.
Yes, and I know you're very humble and you don't like the attention, but it's well deserved.
Thank you.
Been here for 17 years, and I think when I first moved here, you were assistant manager at the movie theater.
Yes.
She was
And
just
here
a
you
little
are.
tadpole.
Yeah.
Yep, that's right.
Now we got a little bullfrog.
We'll see you next week on Cadillac Unscripted, sponsored by Independent Bank on 107.9 CDY.